friends, welcome back to my studio. Hope you're well. I thought today it might be useful to talk about and share how I actually created time and space for my practice. I've spoken before about the importance of having space and setting time aside for your creative endeavours in a previous vlog, which I will link here and in the description. I just thought it might be useful for you to hear my story about how I created space and time for my practice. Once I left uni, I lost a studio, a practice space, and I also kind of fell back into my previous life, I guess, of pre-artist endeavour. I guess uni didn't really help me know how to set up a space and a practice. And so, yeah, I just fell back into a default position, got a regular job, bought a house, had a family, and did that sort of thing. And that was fine. But there was this yearning that I had worked so hard to go to uni, and creating art is such a part of who I am, and I had been, for whatever reason, ignoring it or couldn't make it happen. And I found myself going to other artists' open studios and really wishing it was me, really enjoying all of the art and able to surround myself with the art, but just I could hear myself saying, gee, I wish this was me, gee, I wish this was me. And so what it needed was a mind shift. Instead of staying in that wish, it was, how do I make it so? What do I need to do that it can be me? And there needed to be a shift of, it actually can be me. So that's the first step, is believing it can be you. You can have a studio. You can have an art practice. So for me, it was the belief in myself that I could make this happen. And then I knew I needed to make time for it. And so at the time, I was running my own business and I was working 4 days a week, and I had a free day, a Monday free. And I was filling that Monday with, I would drop the children to primary school at that stage and do assembly, that because it was a lovely thing to do. And then I filled the day with housework, shopping, etc., general life things. And I realised I was filling the day with things that could be done on other days. The shopping and the housework could be done on the weekends. The weekends had space in them for those things. So I basically just emptied up that Monday of things to do and set it aside as a designated studio day where I wouldn't do anything else except be in an art frame of mind. So I've got the free time. Now I need the space to do it. And at this point, this studio wasn't always an art studio. It was a training space where my partner ran his own business doing defence training, which is why it's a great, oh, there's a huntsman. Ooh. Might have to deal with that first. Oh, they creep me out. He's got to go outside. Okay. He or she is outside. That's the second huntsman I've had to deal with today. There was one in my car this morning. Luckily, I mean, they're big spiders and they're creepy. Luckily, the one in the car dropped in a shopping bag and I was able to just get the shopping bag out of the car, so it was out of the car, because they're actually very dangerous in the car. Anyway, unless it climbs back in under the door, we're good. So back to this. Sorry if you're afraid of spiders. I'm sparing you the actual footage of it outside. Okay, so I had created time and then I needed the space. And I knew it didn't work for me being in the house, perhaps setting up on the kitchen table, because I never set the things up because I already couldn't be bothered packing them away. And to set up in the kitchen, you know, the whole kitchen has to be cleaned, and so then there was chores in the way of actually creating. And there's family about, and so you haven't got a nice quiet space. So for me, great if it works for you and you're able to work and you've inside and you've got a space, but for me, I needed a designated space. I hadn't created a space in all those years, so I really needed the space. And as I was saying, at the time, this space was used for something else, but there were times where it was free. And it's quite a big space. It's 6 meters by 6 meters. That's all right, it was just the skin of a spider. Oh my God. That's my 3 spiders. Now, no more, please. Okay, sorry. This space I could see had some free area in it. So I asked, could I just set up a little table in the corner? And that was, yes, great. You won't be in my way. I got to have a little desk in the corner here. And of course, as you know, if you've watched me for a while, you know, I like to play with a whole lot of different things. And one little desk in a corner was never going to be enough space for me. So, of course, I started to creep into more areas. And the next thing, I had 1/3 of this space. Long story short, I ended up with the whole thing, which is fantastic. So by creating time and creating space, I created an art practice. The big things were giving myself, believing in myself, and then giving myself permission to actually be in that space. It did take me a while, even though I had it set up, it did take me a while to really put my presence in and really occupy the space. I had to put big boundaries on friends and family saying, oh, all right, you're home on a Monday. Okay, so we'll pop in. And I had to say, no, I'm working. I had to be really diligent and really protective of that time that I'd created and the space that I was given. And the best way I could explain that to friends and family was, no, it's a work day, I'm working. Because I was working in my art practice. So I said to them, no, you can't call in. Yes, I'm home, but I'm working. And it took quite some time because I think also in their minds, I hadn't been an artist. So it was also showing up and showing them that I was an artist. And even just as I'm saying this, remembering even calling myself an artist was a huge leap. There was so many years I said I want to be an artist, till one day I just said, well, what's an artist anyway? I'm an artist. And so I encourage you, it's so empowering. You're an artist. So I'd be out here and the kids were still young at that point, and they would come in and, what are you doing, Mum? What are you doing? And I'd say, oh, I'm painting. And so the way I made it okay for them was I always made the space available for them to be able to create in as well. My son particularly used to like to come in, and at the time I was doing a lot of pour fluid painting. So it was something very accessible for him to be able to mix up a bottle of runny paint and pour it onto a canvas. And that was enough for him to understand, all right, that's what Mum's doing out here. And eventually they stopped coming out and it became quite normal for me to be out here. And I think also if you're finding it hard to take that time away for yourself, this is the way I was able to think about it, that I was helping my children in that I was showing them how to have something for themselves, how to honor themselves, and also showing them that their mum could do that. Their mum could be creative. Their mum could live their dream. So even though I had taken some time, I had taken me away from them for a short period of time, I felt like I taught them really good values in that. And the fantastic thing about creating this time and this space for myself was that the creativity really fed, and more creativity came and more ideas came. It's like the more you do, I guess you're feeding it. And I soon ended up with not enough time and space for all of the ideas I had and all the things I wanted to do and all the things I wanted to create. I had another look at my schedule at work and found that I'd given a very big portion of time to administration. Running your own business does require a lot, and at the time I was helping run a allied health centre, so there was a lot to do in that. But I just found ways to manage my time better in the administration. I couldn't physically change the hours. I'm a massage therapist as well as an artist, so those physical hours of seeing clients had to stay as they were that time allotted. But the admin side, I could certainly become much more efficient at it. And so I would do things. I'm not one really much for eating lunch, so I would do emails and things at lunchtime and just things like that, and really condense the day. And I'd stay maybe a little bit later at work and get those things done. That actually allowed to free up another half a day. So then I was in the studio a day and a half a week. And some weekends where I could steal time. Certainly as the children got older, I was able to have more of that time to spill into the weekends. I wasn't sure what I'd really be able to do with a half day, because I had the morning free and I would go into work in the afternoon, into the massage. I would go into the massage work in the afternoon. And what I found was I was even more productive in that half morning than I was in the whole day I had free. Having a boundary on the time really released me. I was able to just get into the studio and get something done because I knew I only had that limited amount of time. So that really surprised me because I didn't think it would work that way. So that's the other thing that I've learned through this is having that compressed time has really helped my practice. It helps me get in the flow, get going. And then in more recent years, with the whole pandemic stuff happening and massage therapists in Victoria weren't allowed to operate, I had all the time in the world to be home, which is when I started the YouTube channel actually, because I had all this spare time. So that was a lovely gift of that time. And it also gave me a lot of time for reflection. And when you're super busy and running all of those sorts of, a private practice and an artistic practice and a home and raising children, a lot of that is taken away and you have all that space. It was a really great reflective time of, hey, I'm really liking this really simple life. And that's what I want going forward. There was this real sense of pre-pandemic and post-pandemic and how different the world would be. And I think we were very optimistic about that. And I took the step to simplify my private practice and I moved, and I've got a much simpler form now, and that has freed up a little bit more time for me. And so now I'm in the studio 2 days a week plus some weekend time. So I've got my massage practice 3 days and studio 2 and whatever else I can grab out of the spare 2 days. And that is working really, really well for me. Having, like I said, that compressed time where I know I've only got those 2 days really helps me be a lot more productive. And I know there can be a bit of a wish to be a full-time artist. And if you say, oh, I'm a full-time artist, it can feel like, oh, you're on this really upper level. But I'm not sure I would ever become a full-time artist, because for me, certainly at the moment, having that limit on my studio time really helps me get into it. get into the flow a lot quicker. Having my massage practice also takes pressure off earning an income. I know that that's kind of like my bread and butter, and so it takes the pressure off me needing to spend too much time on the marketing and selling side of the work, and also the pressure of creating sellable commercial work, that I'm able to really create work that's for me, and that is a real gift as well. So in a nutshell, creating the belief, creating time, creating the space, and giving yourself permission to be in the space. And just know that creativity grows creativity. I'm very lucky my children are now 18 and 21, and so they're off having their own lives. And so I have even more time to myself and to my practice. And I'm so glad that I didn't wait until this point, because I'm so happy I started when I did. I put that in place when I did. And there's a lovely quote that says, "Imagine where you could be next year if you started now." So that's the story of how I created having this space and this time, and how I made it possible for all of these artworks. I've put a little bit more paint on this one here, and it's really come along, and very excited. We have the set dates for our open studio, so if you are in the area and would like to visit my studio in person, I would love to see you. The studio will be open on the 9th, 10th and 11th of March, the long weekend, Labor Day weekend in March, and the following 16th and 17th. So I need to get cracking to get some work completed, so there's some things to see. So I'll leave that there today. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.